This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo. It's that time. An author.
Offensive production, number 1. Number 2. I forgot.
Golfer.
It'd be like going on a 3-person best shot, and we were saying, Kolpack, you got to make a 25-footer every time. You wouldn't putt first. I'd have Tim putt first.
And one heck of a TV personality.
This game is for the Cooper Cup.
It's the Forum's Jeff Kolpack.
4! I should have yelled 2.
And here he is, folks. Jeff Kolpack joining us bright and early on a Monday morning. Good to see you, my man.
You as well.
And we got a bunch to get to here.
As usual.
The first thing I had, I got 2 emails. Dom and Jeff, house cam. That was your headline of your story.
It was.
On Saturday night.
Well, it's what everybody was asking,
Yes.
you know, and actually, I got to speak to a journalism class this week, and that's one of the things I'll talk about is it's not so much about the game and the 5-2 defense and the passing attack. A lot of times I try to picture when mom, dad, and the 2 kids are leaving the dome, what are they talking about? What do they talk about when they get in the car? What's the family or the 2 buddies who go to Labby's after the game and order a couple cocktails? What are they talking about? And there's certainly 2 words that they were talking about. How's Cam? Because there was no official diagnosis, I guess, but we think it's a sprained ankle.
We were told he's fine. That was
He could have gone back in the game.
So we can show the video, John, whenever you're ready. The video of the actual injury. I mean, it didn't look great, honestly. When he's running here, you watch his left leg; it buckles under weird. That was
right there, yep.
right there. That was the weird part about it there. And obviously the hit up high, which was the personal foul that happened after it. And then I give a total shout out to our crew because we were eagle eye on this. He went off with Dr. Bruce Pyatt off to the locker room afterwards, and you see he was walking pretty gingerly there. And then we go to break, and see he was doing this. He comes back out, Kolpack, and I don't think we.
Okay, I haven't seen this yet. I haven't seen him coming back out.
He came back, and he was sitting on the trainer's table, and at the time, his dad, Kevin, came down and was asking him how he's doing, and he was high-fiving guys. He signed autographs as the game was over. To me, and he was standing up at the end of the game. If it was something more to it than that, I don't think he's doing that. Maybe I'm making more out of it than not, but I didn't get a sense that this was anything beyond what it was.
Yep, probably right. So I saw Bruce Pyatt after the game. He's down there with his family. I think it's his grandson. They're playing football, and I wanted to go up to him and go, "How is he? Tell me."
That's the reporter in this. We got to find out what's going on. Tim Polisek, that was the first question I asked him in the post-game press conference. How is he? He says he's fine. He could have gone back in the game if we needed him to. And obviously, Cole Payton finished out the rest of the game, and he played a heck of a game because the Missouri Valley just announced he was named the Offensive Player of the Week again after his performance on Saturday. And he actually threw some incomplete passes for the first time really this season.
I know, it's like shocking.
But he threw 2 more touchdowns. He broke Easton Stick's record for most touchdowns by a quarterback, rushing touchdowns, that is, at 42. Just what else do you say about what we've seen on number 7?
He's on that 5 or 6 quarterback Mount Rushmore in the Division I era.
Yep.
With you start with Walker, then you got Jensen, then you have Stick, then you have Wentz, then Stick, and then Lance,
Trey
and
Lance.
now.
Yep. That's a good question or a good point because I got an email here I want to bring up.
If Mount Rushmore had that many faces.
I had to add out another one on that probably, to extend out. Email comes in on this. This is a long one, so I'll try to break it down. Dom and Jeff, can you touch on the evolution of Cam Miller? He was never supposed to be the guy. In a perfect world, Trey would have spent at NDSU until 2022.
Right.
After that, I think it was supposed to be Cole Payton. Not to undermine what Cole has done his time. There would never have been Zeb Nolan or Quincy Patterson in the world of NIL and the transfer portal. He bought into the program and stayed even when things were not great.
I remember the column I did after he rallied the team against Missouri State at home when Quincy was really struggling. And he came in, and I think the column essentially was, okay, why didn't you transfer? Because at that point, and that was the start of transfer-happy people, that, why didn't you do that? Because you got beat out by Quincy, and as we've seen, a lot of people try to find greener pastures. And I think he referenced his dad and
Yes.
growing up
Yep.
and playing under a head coach in high school.
This was never an option.
Yep. It was never discussed.
And you've seen it, and Polisic made a very emphatic point about that after the game as well. So this is what it can be. This is a perfect way to defend the portal of what the evolution of Cam Miller. And that email's dead on, because the line of succession, if you want to go with it, Trey Lance was good. Let's just say Trey Lance was going to be here 3 years, right? 19, 20, 21.
Mm-hmm.
Then Cole Payton is your guy, because he would have been then, what is it? He would have been a redshirt sophomore.
Well, Cam had to play as a true freshman in that spring season.
Correct. People forget that
Right.
he started 2 playoff games that year.
And that kind of references my column from the game on Saturday. You have Simon Rumfo, albeit in his 3rd year, just so limited with what he could do with the passing game. And a lot of it goes back to he just hasn't played a whole lot. This is his first full-time duty, where Cam is in his 5th year and has seen a boatload of games and pictures. It's such a difference. And we're going to eventually transition. SIU's got a true freshman quarterback now because of injuries. But what a difference. It's just crazy how that is. And I enjoy Bison fans to have an experienced quarterback.
Another email comes in here. Dom and Jeff, Coach Polisic press conferences are gold. He gives you little cryptic insights. One, non-conference, the preseason, was his way of validating what he watched while scouting his own team in the offseason. Then he made changes after that. 2, how he uses the media to set the tone for the week. 3, the sound bites on Cam, Bryce Lance, Cody Heisman were great. This team is only scratching its potential.
When Tim starts to raise his voice, I'm going, oh boy, where are we going here?
Buckle up on that. Yes.
And it usually happens once, win or lose.
Correct.
It's just. I want to finish the point on the portal, and you got to be careful what you ask for. I think as we're going along here, as more players are entering the portal, we're seeing more data, more years piling on years. Eli Green has 4 catches this year. And they were in the
UND game.
The
first game of the season.
So he hasn't had a catch since then.
Nope.
Be careful what you do. It's the several Bison players after, was it the 21 season or 22 now? 22. Yep. There's 5, 6, 7 guys went in. And really, I think Jazir Cox before that had a good, okay thing at West Virginia. Jabril was at LSU, although they weren't that good.
He did. He was going to do his deal there. The guys in 22 left middle of the season, right before the postseason began.
Siegel's been productive at Kansas State.
He's an all-conference player. He's going to be a draft pick at
Josh
Kansas
Hayes,
State.
it eventually worked out for him. He kind of got lucky that Kleiman took him back at K-State.
But right now, there's more. And again, it's early data on. I'm not ready to go there on the guys that left after last season. But more often than not, you're seeing on a national scope, more often than not, it has not.
And I think it's a correct thing for a lot of players who don't play.
Yeah.
If you're not playing here, you're 5th in the depth chart.
Oh.
Yeah. Go find a level you can play at.
Seth Anderson's a perfect example. Seth wasn't going to play here. He's starting at UND. That's a perfect example of a guy that
he's just behind too many guys.
He wasn't gonna pass a Gray Zabel. He wasn't gonna pass Mason Miller. Those are guys that came in his same recruiting class. He goes to UND. Now he's a 2.5-year starter. That worked out well on that. Two things. The Bryce Lance thing, he hit again.
He did.
Yes,
he did.
On how the fact that he only had 1 catch, still can't. And if you want to pile on Matt Entz on that, that's fine. But I will, again, say Zach Mathis and Eli Green weren't coming off the field last year. That would be my counterpoint to that. Mathis was Cam's guy. And Eli from
the 3rd or 4th game.
I would say probably the midpoint, by the midpoint of the season, he was tremendous. He was great. I'm not taking those 2 guys off. Now, can you debate about having Jake Lippy out there or our guy, Giancarlo Volpentesta out there? Yeah, we can have that conversation. But Braylon Henderson and Raja Nelson were also in the mix too. So I don't know. I mean, hindsight is what it is, Kolpack. I'm not sure how you handle that conversation.
And maybe Bryce has just gotten a lot better too in the offseason.
Correct.
I mean, you can't discount that.
Yep.
We don't watch practice during the season because we just don't. Hey, I don't. Probably not even allowed in.
It's the same amount of access. It's 15 minutes.
Yep. So, and that's not enough to judge a guy's improvement. Maybe he's gotten bigger, stronger, faster by just a little bit here and there, and you can't discount that either.
Last one, Cody Heisman. I said it during the game.
He's coming.
He had the game of his life on Saturday. He was really, really good. That's the second week in a row that he's played really well, and that defensive line has played really well.
I think Eli Mostert in the two conference games has really upped his level of play.
Duke Heffer's been really good too. Heisman's been good. That interior part of the D line has been really, really good so far since Missouri Valley play started. And I don't think you can discredit this, and I know you guys, I think, mentioned this on the post game. The move of Sam Young to the spot at strong safety seems like it's totally changed this defense, that they become the 85 Bears now.
He's making tackles at the line of scrimmage, and that maybe is the difference between strong and free, and we beat this to a drum on both pregame, postgame, during game, all the game, that the strong safety has more responsibilities with run and pass fit conflicts and things like that. And he's a coach's kid. He's a smart kid. He's in his fifth year.
Sixth.
He's a six-year guy.
He's a 6-year guy. He's been around here for a bit. One other email before we go to break. Cam Miller is playing quarterback at the highest level I've ever seen at NDSU. He doesn't have near the talent on the team as prior quarterbacks, and he's off the charts right now.
Debatable. I mean, you're seeing it now. It's hard. Sometimes you forget about how good Easton was.
Oh, God, yes. People routinely do that on Easton Stick.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that. Carson Wentz and Trey Lance had their, and then obviously because of where they were picked in the NFL draft, but Easton Stick needs to have his.
Don't forget Brock Jensen.
Brock Jensen was awfully damn good, too.
His last 2 years. His last 2 years, Brock on third down was
money.
It was just third and 6,
automatic
7 yards.
They were going to They were going to get it. Just look. If you need anything, look at the Kansas State game to see how good he was. And that's, again, I think, and Trey Lamb said this, and I believe Eddie George said it, that there were guys that were trying to beat Cam Miller out for the job. Zeb Nolan was one. Mm-hmm. Quincy Patterson was another. And all Miller has done is beat them both. And he's become now, he's going to go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks in Bison history.
It very humbly, too.
Yep. And it's just flat out. He will go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks, regardless of how the season pans out. You're going to look in the record books, and you're going to see his name. He's second now in completions. He's now the record setter for quarterback touchdowns. He's going to probably break the yardage. He's going to get at least a second in total yardage in school history. I mean, he's also won a national championship. He's also won, I think, now 36 games as a starter. The one thing he hasn't done is something we're going to talk about.
A couple weeks.
Is the Jackrabbits on that. Let's break. We come back. I got a bunch of emails about the Missouri Valley Football Conference. I think that's a really
interested to hear this.
Interesting topic to get to. We'll do that. Much more with Jeff Kolpack. We roll on an Overreaction Monday. We're back after this. Hey, don't forget, tomorrow, Hot Mike on the road will be at the Premier Center in Sioux Falls for Summit League Basketball Media Day. We're going to have Summit League Commissioner Josh Fenton. We'll have both Bison coaches, the UND coaches, the Jackrabbit coaches. Second year in a row for us being down there. The media poll will be unveiled as well. Should be a big day. Get your college basketball season and get your fix tomorrow. Join us tomorrow from Sioux Falls.
Say hi to Dave Richmond for me. I haven't seen him lately.
I'm sure he'll enter where you are. There's no doubt.
I'm sure.
You'll be wondering what's going on. I got a bunch more emails coming in on this particular topic, and I really, I'm glad this came in because I wanted to discuss on this about where we think the Missouri Valley Football Conference is. And how top heavy is it, considering the top 4 teams are all ranked nationally, and then after that, it's a whole lot of average, if not very good.
Correct.
Why is that the case, I guess, is the question.
What happened in Northern Iowa? Was the budget cuts affect that program so much? I know they're touting reciprocity this week or last week, that it's a game changer. So now that's where we're at is with Northern Iowa, is you're hoping that reciprocity will make a difference in funding the program, I guess, and the scholarship bill.
That's not great if you're banking on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at, you could say, and John, you can cut that music when you get a second. Most conference discussion over the last month has been regarding NDSU leaving. Given the current disparity of the current teams, what is the long-term viability of the Missouri Valley? I could easily see 3 of the Eastern teams leaving. First, I've heard that forever. I've led that charge, frankly, on Youngstown to maybe go to the CAA. That's not going to happen. But for years, and I looked this stat up on Saturday night, from 2012 to 2017, every team in the Valley made the playoffs outside of Mo State and SIU.
Ooh, good stat. Great nerd stat.
And then since 2018 to now, everybody's made it to the postseason. No other FCS league has had that kind of depth, but it has fallen off the table this season. It seems even more especially because we know the 4 Dakota schools are pretty good, right? Although we saw a pretty good disparity, I think, between NDSU and UND on Saturday. After that, though, Jeff, Illinois State, the Bison beat them by 30. Southern Illinois, we'll talk about in a minute here. They're 2-4. They're not very good. Youngstown is awful. Indiana State, we can't just figure it out.
Okay. Indiana State, they have not been relevant.
So let me keep them out of. Okay, I'll keep them out of the conversation
since they shut down their program in the pandemic. Youngstown lost 9 guys, defensive regulars, to the portal.
Yep.
Okay, so there's two. You can take those two. My best reasoning for those two.
Would you put Northern Iowa
budget? I don't know. I don't know.
Because Northern Iowa get great players all the time. All the time.
It's not like their budget has changed a whole lot over the years.
No, Northern Iowa actually has had 2 first-round, a second and a first-round pick over the last 4 years. Spencer Brown and the Penning kid were both either in the first or the second round of the draft.
They don't have NIL, I don't think.
Not for football.
Nope. They don't have Alston payments. Those are 2 things NDSU has. Do they have cost of attendance?
They don't for football.
So those are 3 funding mechanisms that NDSU has that they don't have.
Yeah, that one. Because those 3 schools, I put Youngstown, SIU, and Northern Iowa, you could almost bank on being. And Illinois State has flirted with the playoffs. Now, granted, they haven't been since 2019, so it's been a bit for Illinois State. But it's not as nearly as deep. I used to always nickname it the gauntlet. It's not that. I don't know if it's that anymore. Because the other schools, Mo State, Jeff, okay, they bubbled up when Petrino was there, but traditionally they've been bad.
And not eligible this year, by the way.
Indiana State is the same. I'm not even putting Murray in the conversation because they just got here. But the schools those 4 traditionally have been pretty good, and that's not the case in 2024.
No. Even Western Illinois back in the day used to be pretty good.
Western won a playoff game.
They beat NDSU here on homecoming when Matt Barr single-handedly beat them.
Well, when our guy Bob Nielsen was the coach, they won a first-round playoff game in 2015 before he got the job in Vermillion.
Man, that wasn't that long ago.
That's not a decade ago, and they went and did that. So there has been great depth in this league, and it's just not there anymore. And it's a variety of things. Like in football, it's never just one, but budget's a big deal. And you mentioned those 3 mechanisms that both USD, UND, SDSU, and NDSU have. The other schools don't for football.
Take away Youngstown, which has a pretty nice indoor. It was one of the first.
Yep.
The other contenders all have indoor football practice facilities.
Yep.
And USD has a nice outdoor field, but they have the dome.
Correct.
For indoor use.
The Jacks one is immaculate. I've been inside UND's. It's really good. The Bison one speaks for itself on what they have.
And Illinois State put up a bubble, which is okay, but it's a bubble. Right. Like high schools have bubbles now.
But it's something. They're they're addressing it somehow.
Right. At least they're trying to invest in the football.
Correct. And that's the thing. I'll end this with Southern Illinois because we'll chat about this on our video blog coming up later today. Salukis are 2-4. They're down to their 3rd string quarterback here. I think I had high hopes for Nick Hill's team, knowing full well what they lost, that he always brings in some good transfers. But boy,
you picked SIU to beat BYU in the opener.
I did.
How's that looking right now for you?
That's one of the few losses I have.
I know.
In the FCS pick'em this year.
After that, I thought you're going to go down the tubes in a hurry here.
But I wasn't the only one, by the way, that picked that. But yes, that was not good. And frankly, defensively, that's the thing where they have looked.
But
really
with the portal, you don't know what you have sometimes.
Well, clearly they maybe overestimated what they had.
You win by the portal and you die by the portal.
And the fact that they're down to their 3rd string quarterback, who's a true freshman, who the Bison are going to see on Saturday.
Was he 18-39 or something like that?
Not a good.
Yeah.
That's not a good combo.
2 picks, no touchdowns.
NDSU. The one thing I throw at you, if Miller is not 100%, do you say, you know what? Get ready for the Jacks. We start Cole.
That's a good question. I don't know if you want to send that message to your team.
Yep. Or to the other team, frankly, right? That
it is homecoming at SIU this week, and maybe that'll
this is
account.
The second time this year that someone has scheduled.
Do you want to schedule the Bison at homecoming?
Right? Like that's not.
Do you want to raise money after the game to your alums?
Well, they're already in basketball mode there in
Yeah.
Carbondale as it is, but that to me is an odd deal. And this used to be a place I remember you told me about this the first time I went to Carbondale in 2012, I want to say, 2011, that when the Bison went there in 2005, when Jerry Kill was, I mean, this SIU was humming.
They were good.
The team.
They were good. They were so good defensively. They had linebackers who were like 230, 235. And at that point in the Division II, you just didn't see that. I think Steve got hurt that game too, if I remember right.
Yep, correct. Hurt his knee in that one.
Yep.
But that's where, and I would say even when Dale got the job, up until the late 20-aughts, right, 2008, 2009, they were consistently making the playoffs, and then it was falling off.
And
a
that
cliff
2005 game was at their old stadium, which was a dump.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah.
It was just old and a dump. They built this beautiful.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, okay, this is FCS title kind of stuff.
Like, how can you not get better players there? And then, granted, Jeremy Chin, awesome player. You see him in the NFL. He was darn good at Southern Illinois. But
I know money now for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we talked about Northern Iowa. Does SIU have NIL for football? Alston payments, cost maybe.
Yeah.
Do they have? They must have something.
I'd have to look onto that. I'm not.
I don't know.
Great on that. I know they have it for basketball. I don't know about football.
But now
the Valley
it's a
have
good
to.
recruiting area. You're Chicago,
St. Louis,
Louis, Memphis.
Yep.
It's a good recruiting area.
Absolutely.
But if you don't have the money, I mean, now what? FBS is 107 capped, essentially 107 scholarships.
Yep.
And so now there's another boatload of players that'll probably go FBS, and then you have to wait for them to come back to the portal, and, and it's hard to develop guys when you bring them in 2-3 years after they were benching it somewhere else.
Correct. Your wait is over for midweek football. It starts this week. Conference USA plays games. So tomorrow night, you've got the powerhouse matchup of Florida International and Liberty. And then Wednesday night, New Mexico State and Jacksonville State will play. And Thursday, you've got 3 games on Thursday. Coastal and James Madison. What could have been? I just look at that.
Yeah.
The law is just like, I look out the window. That's the teams. Middle Tennessee and Louisiana Tech. And your friends from UTEP and Western Kentucky.
Yeah,
will
I
play
guess I'm not going to get invited to go
You're
to
not
El
going to
Paso.
No one's inviting you to El Paso. I can
no
tell you
expense
that.
paid trips to El Paso in the near future.
That's kind of the deal there. But
I
we've reached that
still
time of
look
the
at
year.
that and go, I think the Mountain West commissioner panicked.
Oh, there's no doubt. I think that, but they want to be in business in Texas. They're going to go grab another Texas school. Maybe it's Tarleton that they go and get another FC. But that's the deal. I'm really interested to see what Sac State does. Sac State has made this completely out there, in your face. We have this much money. We're going to build a new stadium, but they've never cared about football. You know that from the Division II days.
It's such a radical departure from how they've done things for years.
They've said now that the Warriors are going to let them play some basketball games at the Golden State Warriors
that's
arena.
No.
To get into the Pac-12.
No.
I mean,
They're going to. It's like when IUPUI was playing in the Pacers arena.
Oh, yeah, that's right. How'd that go?
Not well.
Yeah.
Not well.
Before you know it, they were.
We'll see it next week with Tennessee or next year at Tennessee State playing at the Titans Stadium.
Yep.
There's going to be more Bison fans there. I guarantee you there will.
And I don't think there will be a whole lot of Bison fans there. I'll be.
I think Nashville is going to be an attraction.
Think so?
Yes.
You see the scene in
when UND hockey was there, it was a Nashville takeover.
Yep. Did you see the scene in Nashville this weekend after they carried the goalposts out after Vanderbilt?
I didn't
beat
see it, but
Alabama.
I heard about it.
They traveled 3 miles with the goalpost to the Cumberland River and dumped them in. How do you get them out of the stadium? Don't you have to angle it, right? To get it out?
Well, they didn't bring the whole thing, did they?
That was the whole
the
thing.
whole goalpost.
The whole thing.
Wow.
Check our guy Tim Purton, who was there, friend of the show. He had the video on a Twitter account.
It must have been
he was right there.
A good doctorate in geometry that was able to
it is
configure.
Vanderbilt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It is. It's the Harvard of the South.
Okay, you got to turn it 35 degrees this way.
They beat Alabama. I think that's going for Kalen DeBoer today.
Is the chair already getting a little warm? I've seen that today.
How many for sale signs do you have in his front yard? They still do
Nick
that?
Saban, what did he say after they lost? He stopped at the gas station, and the guy was just talking to him, and the guy goes, well, once we get rid of Nick Saban, we'll be okay. Right in front of Nick Saban.
By the way, and they kept playing it. Saban said, easiest place in the SEC to win is winning Vanderbilt. They kept playing that all day Saturday night after that happened. So we got a big week coming. We'll see you in a little bit for Bison Video Blog. So Jeff Kolpack joining us each and every Monday off the top here of our second hour. We'll break. We come back. Josh Morton joins us, Augustana athletic director, after a huge weekend for the Vikings after they beat UND in hockey. Back on Hot Mike on this Monday morning right after this.